have never once had a man put his life on the line to protect me, but I've had women do it. I would love some statistics on this. I would love to see how many women can actually say, oh yeah, a man saved my life from the violence of another man. It doesn't happen. Maybe every once in a while. It doesn't usually happen. It's almost always women who protect women. Now, if you know my content, a lot of things I say are contradictory because lots of things are true, right? While women have always been the people who protected me, women have also put me in harm's way because of their own internalized misogyny or codependency or unresolved trauma and all that stuff that makes them that makes them enable men. I have certainly been somebody who has put a whole community in danger trying to protect a man. I was scared of him, but trying to protect the man from the consequences of his action. And I talked about that in another video. But I want to share a story with you about how my friend Annie saved my life. And the reason why I want to share it is because the story that everyone is talking about today, or most people I follow, is the woman who gets hit in the face with a brick for not giving a man her phone number. And the more tragic part is that it happened in front of a bunch of men who literally did nothing, didn't help at all, didn't pull out their phone, didn't record anything, literally let this person get away with it and just watched it happen. And that is such a perfect example of just how it is. And at first I didn't want to really comment on it because I try to stay in my lane. And I know that this is a very nuanced conversation. And I know that Black women are the least protected women in the United States, at least. And I would say in the world too. Black women are the least protected. So I want to start off with my story, acknowledge that even though women's number one predator is men, women, trans women, femmes, that, all of us are in danger. And men are the scariest thing that we have to deal with usually. But as a white woman, I have way more protection. I have a systemic protection. But the reason why I want to share this story is not only to share how a woman saved my life, but also to show that, usually the only time white women are protected, it's in the name of racism. That's it. They don't really care about us. Everything that is done to protect us is usually done with white supremacy motives, particularly anti-Blackness. If you don't know what I'm talking about, stick around, read some history, especially about the South and white women in the South and how we played a role in all this. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I actually went to the cops after my abusive ex, and this was in New Mexico, after he raped me. I didn't go right after because I figured, what's the point? Like, I'm dating him. They're not going to what are they going to do? I have never really trusted cops in general. So I didn't go right after. But then I think it was like a couple weeks later when I realized I'm in danger and then I'm terrified of this man. And I was starting to plan my exit. So I went by a women's shelter kind of place and was like, hey, can I get some advice on how to not die when getting away? And they're like, oh, look for devices on your car, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff that I didn't actually think he would do because he didn't have money. He was a literal hobo, like a proud hobo. Rode the rails, had no money, except he always had money for, that's it. So financial abuse was also a part of this, but whatever. And they're like, well, basically you want to get a paper trail if you can. I forget what they called it. It was like point of order or something like that. I don't know. They gave me the exact language to go to the police with so I could tell them what he had done to me. And, in terms of also he, threatened in text to post a video he'd taken of me giving him a J without my consent. I found them on his phone. I erased them. I have in text of him being like, I'm going to put that there. Anyway, I had tons of evidence. But basically go and tell them what happened. So there's a paper trail. And I was like, well, I don't want to press charges because he lives with me. And they're like, no, that won't happen. And so I went there and these men, they tried to bully me into pressing charges and I was like, whoa, no, I don't want you to talk to him. I don't want you to do anything. I literally just want this on paper because when he eventually hurts me more, which I'm sure he will, unless I get out of this state, I want a record. And they're like, you can't tell us what to do. And I'm like, what? And they're like, we're going to go talk to him. And I'm like, no, please don't do that. That I'm not safe. I don't even have cell phone service. If my house is in New Mexico, cell phones don't work in like half the state. I'm like, I can't call for help. Like, I'm a sitting duck in my house. Please do not talk to him. This man is still living with me. I could barely get help to come and move his stuff out when he attacked me. My phone doesn't work. I can barely. And they were just like, you can't tell us what to do. You have to press charges. And I'm like, but I don't want to. Do I not get a say in this? And they're like, no. So my inner Karen was like, let me talk to your boss. So the big boss comes out and he's like, so what's the problem? And I was like, well, your man said that y'all are going to like tell him and go talk to him and like press charges. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to I literally just want y'all to know, a little heads up, in case I die. And he was like, yeah, no, you can't tell us what to do. I'm like, so you're going to actively put me in danger. That you're telling me you are going to put me in danger, knowing that this is going to endanger me. You're going to do it anyway. And he was like, and so I looked at him and I was like, so what are my choices here? And he's like, I was like, can I just tell you that can I just say I just lied about all of it? And he's like, and I was like, okay, that's what happened. I lied. None of this ever happened. I just lied about all of it. None of this ever happened. He never raped me. It never happened. Are you happy? I did the most robot FU, whatever. Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah, because I don't want to die. So from that moment on, I was alone. I was ashamed. I had already tried to tell people, and then I took them back, and then I was hiding them in my truck. I was in a corner, y'all. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to ask for help. I didn't know who would believe me at this point, because usually it takes 7 times to leave an abuser, and I'd already kind of tried to tell people, and then kind of went back on it, and then thank God I had told one of my best friends, Annie, and she said, do you want to help me? You want me to help you move? She kind of knew what was going on. She didn't have a clue how bad it was. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to need some support getting out of here. So Annie swoops in a week before I leave, immediately realizes that this is terrifying. And because she's a woman and knows how to operate around terrifying men, she played it so cool. She pretended to be his friend. She, bought him beers. They're just old pals, But she also did this. She slept outside my bedroom every night. Now, this upset my ex, right? Because now we have a witness in the house. And she's right outside that door. And she's like, you know how Alaska is, man. I don't know, we have long winters. I just love the sun. She just gotten through a summer where it's sunny. The sun never goes down. But this idiot just forgot about that. She was like, yeah. So I just really I need to see the stars. I just love sleeping outside. Now, I'm an outdoorsy person. I've slept outside for years on end. So that's what we do. So he's like, okay. Every night, man. Like a pit bull. I didn't ask her to do it either. I was like, why are you out there? She was like, I want this Forker to know that someone's listening to you scream. Pit bulls are the nicest dogs, but they also are very loyal and very dangerous if you mess with someone that they care about, right? Now, this man almost ran us off the road. He literally chased down my car at one point in time. These last few days in New Mexico with Annie were the most terrifying days of my life. And y'all know I'm a climber, I'm a guide. I have been in life-threatening situations. These 3 days, the most terrifying of my whole life. She also went back to the police station. I took this picture because I didn't want to ever forget that she took me to that police station because I could not face those awful men alone. But I wanted a paper trail. And now that I was leaving town, I didn't care what they did to him anymore. I spent at least an hour and a half in that room, giving them so much evidence. She spent at least an hour with them, telling them she had texts of all this stuff, right? He also stole all of my work, 10 years of work I had in this Ziploc. I know it looks ridiculous. And Annie got it back. And that story is, I don't even have time to go into it. It's one of the most incredible things anyone's ever done for me. And then Annie drove me out of New Mexico and all the way to LA and got me settled in there. Do you know what the police did? Nothing. Except terrorize some of my friends who I lost because of it. You will never convince me men care about women's safety more than women do. And you will never convince me that any man is more dangerous than boyfriends, fathers, stepfathers, brothers, uncles, and men who love us. And if you're a white woman watching this, everything that I just said, please remember, when we stand by and do nothing to defend other women, especially Black women, we're just like men.